Again, it's good to be with you tonight. Last time we were together, I talked about the first two words in Advent. As I said to you last week, Advent is a fairly new word in my vocabulary. It is the anticipation of the arrival of the Christ. The arrival of the Christ in Bethlehem, the arrival of the Christ someday, somehow, in what we call the second coming. And maybe most importantly, the arrival of the Christ in my life and in your life. Last week, I looked at two words, and I want to look at those same two words in Advent again tonight. I hope this is not confusing, but as I looked at last week, I thought to myself, here we are at a pivotal time in the life of the church. Let's give full time and opportunity to these powerful words. The first Sunday of Advent, hope. Hope, anticipation. The second Sunday, peace. The Jewish word, shalom. I want to talk just a moment about hope, but I want to focus more on peace tonight. Hope is what we've been talking about through this series of devotions. Holding hope, or maybe you would rather phrase it, holding on to hope, or Jesus holding us. Jesus clutching us when the difficulties come, caressing us with the problems we face in our lives. Not just an abstract hope, but we're talking about a hope that is embodied in the person of Jesus Christ. We're not hoping against hope. We're hoping that Christ does in our lives what Christ has come to do. So many times when we think about hope, we think about it just in a sort of abstract, futuristic type of way. But do you know hope is as real as this moment? You and I live moment by moment with our hope in Jesus Christ. No wonder it's the first word in the preparation, Advent for the arrival of Jesus. We are hoping that God in Jesus Christ, the one who has broken into human history, will break in to the history of our lives. But it's that second word I want to focus on tonight. The second word in Advent is the word peace. Again, such a word that was used so often by the Jewish people, shalom. Shalom doesn't mean that you and I have no conflict in our lives. If we live for any length of time, you and I are going to face conflict and difficulties. But what peace means is that you and I are centered in Jesus Christ. And all of the things that we face around us in our lives, we face with the strength and the power of the Christ who lives in us. Think of some times that shalom was used. The disciples gathered in the upper room after the death and the resurrection of Jesus. Word had come to them from some women that Jesus was alive. But if Jesus isn't with you, you don't feel that aliveness. Huddled in this upper room, overcome with fear and anxiety. As far as they were concerned, Jesus was not with them. And suddenly, not a knock on the door, not turning the handle of a door that is open, but walking through a locked door into the room with these fearful disciples. What did Jesus do? Did Jesus say, why don't we all stay here now that I'm here and we all are peaceful in this room? Let's just agree that we're going to stay right here and not do anything that would endanger any of us by going out into the world. Sort of like the way we use the word church. Why is it that we are always coming to church? Why isn't it that the church is moving out to where people are and sharing with them the good news of Jesus Christ? The church is not a place where we hole up with Jesus, but the church is a launching pad for those of us who believe in him to move into the world. Do you see Jesus? Only a few days before he was crucified, he looked over the city of Jerusalem, according to Luke. And what Jesus said to Jerusalem was, if only you had known the things that make for peace. And for only the second time in his ministry, Jesus, because they didn't know. Jerusalem, the last part of that word Jerusalem is Salem, which means peace. The very city that had the name of peace didn't yet know the one who really makes for peace. If only in the busyness of your lives, you would take time to look up to see how much I care. If you only knew the things that make for peace. How sad these last few weeks, in the very place where Jesus was born, where Jesus ministered, where Jesus taught, where Jesus preached, the Middle East. I mean, we're not talking about conflict. We're talking about hatred. And it's throughout our world. If only we knew the one who makes for peace. And how, as a church, can we simply come to a place and have the fellowship of each other and believe that Jesus is there? The benediction And nobody goes to a world that desperately needs the peace of Jesus more than anything else. That's what Jesus wants you and me to know. Please understand, Jesus is not playing hide and seek with you and me. Jesus is playing seek. I want you to know me in your lives. Amen.